Welcome back to the Sure Sales Group Show, episode 44. Today I'm with my good friend and colleague, Chad Prinkey, a business consultant in Greater Baltimore and DC. We're happy to show and share some insights on what's going on in the marketplace. We hope you enjoy. About real estate, sales, negotiation, marketing, entrepreneurship, buying, selling, renting, investing, and what it's taken us to grow from 2 employees to 20, from 30 million in sales to 130 million in sales in the last few years. Thanks for watching. Chad, we've been talking about doing this for a while. Thanks so much for coming. Before we jump into this little structure we came up with, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience so they can get to know you better?
Yeah, thanks. Chad Prinkey. I'm with Newberger & Company. We are a growth consulting firm working in our home base is in Baltimore. We have another office down in Rockville, kind of 50-50 split between the Baltimore and DC metro markets. What we're doing is helping companies to be the very best versions of themselves. So we're working with them on leadership, sales, launching their team, sort of building and designing their, the personnel component of it, and also keeping their clients happy for the long term.
Awesome. And I always like to think of Chad as someone who helps people not fail, because whenever I'm feeling like I'm about to do something wrong, I'll lean on them and their company and say, is this the right way to handle the situation with an agent on the team, an employee, a client? So we always want to bring value in these shows to our viewer. And Chad and I find ourselves at happy hours all the time having these business conversations. And I said, Chad, I need that on camera. Will you do some unpaid consulting on camera for our audience's benefit? He agreed. But just to make sure we don't talk for hours like we normally do, we've agreed to do this little format. So first is we're going to call it Cannon Fodder, where we're going to go back and forth on what's up, what's going on.
This is going to be like the happy hour moment.
It's the happy hour moment, and
yeah.
You know what? Just because we got to keep it on track, let's 5 minutes tops.
Okay, good.
We picked a topic, and a topic that I'm always trying to get better at, and Chad helps me out a lot, and it's keeping up with customer communication. So we're going to dive into what that means with your team, with your leads, with your prospects, current clients, past clients, family. Communication's important.
Yep.
So we're going to dive into that. No more than 15 minutes there, and then we're going to wrap up on our biggest failures we've had in the day-to-day struggles of life dealing with the communication errors. And I know we have multiple blunders. We'll keep it PG-13, and we'll go from there. So Cannon Fodder.
Yeah.
What's the deal? I know you're down in DC earlier this week. You're up in Baltimore. You've got the consulting things going on. What are you seeing out there? What should I know?
So one of the things that is cool about our work is that we get a chance to spend a lot of time with a lot of different kinds of businesses. Right. So I've been lucky enough to get some exposure into what's going on in the commercial real estate community, what's going on in the construction community. Just general business climate and sort of atmosphere in these markets, and so I would say that 2018 is off to a really good start for most of the businesses that we're talking to. I think a lot of what's been in the pipeline for years in commercial real estate is breaking loose, and so one of the things that lots of the general contractors and subcontracting companies that sort of support that community,
sure,
they're swamped, and that's a really good sign.
Like busy,
they're
busy.
Really busy. And on top of it, what's really cool is that architects and engineers also seem to be really busy. And that's great news because they're working on stuff that won't be getting built for 2-3 years. So that sends a really good message to that market. So that's one of the things that I've gotten some good exposure to.
A couple questions around that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of stuck in the residential real estate space. That's just what I do every day.
Not a bad space to be stuck in right now.
No, I love it. I love it. Our
It's a
team
great
loves
spot.
it. And then I like to think of residential real estate as its own microcosm of any business.
Yeah.
You're a team leader. We're managing people. We're doing sales. We're doing management. We're doing a lot of communication with each other, clients. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned commercial real estate. I was under the impression that there's a lot of vacancy out there, and not just Baltimore, but nationwide. That's like a national headline.
Yeah.
What's the deal there? And you're saying that seems to be a...
Yeah, so I guess it depends on your definition of commercial real estate. So
I'm thinking like office space. That's what I think of. Like,
and it's one segment, and you're right. It's one of the segments. Another is retail. Another one of the segments would be, believe it or not, would be sort of multifamily residential, which oftentimes gets treated like commercial real estate because what you're really doing is leasing up a building. And so there's this probably the most healthy market segment that I've been seeing is this multifamily with mixed use retail and even some office components built into, but kind of like this this term that gets tossed around a lot in the market, which is.
Is that my phone?
I think it is.
Nope. Communication's really important. When you have a meeting, put your phone on silent. We're going to get to that.
It's awesome. You can't beat that.
That's called business etiquette.
All right, there's a test, guys. So what I was saying was, so you kind of think about it, the term that gets tossed around a lot is placemaking. So one of the things that's happening is that people want to move into areas where they don't have to go all over the place to get what they need. So they want to have an apartment, and they want below the apartment to have restaurants and bars and a dry cleaner and all the things that they need, kind of right there. That market has been going pretty strong for the past 5 years, and it continues to go strong.
Big time here. You know what we're seeing?
Yeah.
So we do the property management thing. We do all the residential real estate renting.
Yep.
That particular segment taking off hurts some of the rents for the traditional row home, single family home, because these millennials want to do this placemaking thing.
Yeah.
And it's there's a cause and effect to everything. So we're seeing that a lot too.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we're also starting to see in construction and in commercial real estate is lots of pressure on property owners to revamp and upgrade the properties that they have, because there's sort of a message that's being sent that, look, inventory is growing. People have lots and lots of options, and why should I choose yours? So it's a really interesting marketplace. And here's from our perspective, I'll bring it to what we do for a second. While all this is going on, here's what that really means to me. Really, really good marketplace equals extremely busy company. Extremely busy company equals need for new leadership, need for better skills. We got to keep up. So a company that is 60 employees, maybe 60 employees today, dealing with double the volume as they dealt with when they were 60 employees just 2 years ago. Right. How are they coping with that? And how are they managing all that work? And that's sort of where we come in, and we're seeing some really, really cool things happen in that space.
You have some confidentiality around the specific stories that I'm sure we can't put on camera, but Chad's always has awesome stories in this cannon fodder type round about the specific things this company is facing. Here's the issue. Here's what we did. Yeah. Here's how they handled it. Here was the result. And I always find that fascinating. So as we move further into these, I'm going to go deeper on that. But in reference to stay in the 5-minute mark, I'm going to stop it.
We're at the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, because we both would.
Wait, hold on. There was a phone call.
Business etiquette. So, customer communication. I always, and like I said at the beginning, I want there to be a takeaway for the viewers who are in any line of work. Maybe I'm typically talking to people who want to buy homes, sell homes. Maybe they're in real estate. But as a consulting firm, I know one of the pillars of every business is how to make sure your message is right and just your communication strategy.
So for me, man, it's there are not a lot of things that I can say this about in business, but this is really one of them where effective customer communication does not take a lot of skill. It's mostly about your habit, your behavior that you commit to when it comes to effectively keeping up with your clients. So when I look at it, simple things, okay? Like, how many unread emails do you have in your inbox right now? And what does that say about the level of responsiveness that your customer can expect from you? I don't think it takes an awful lot of skill to keep your inbox processed. What's your inbox look like?
So I'm one of those guys, I constantly look at my phone. I know it's not a good habit. You mentioned a couple key things we're going to go back to, like habit, commitment, like what are you committed, what behaviors are you committed to? So my inbox, I get a bunch of junk email. I just check them. Unless I see a name, I go, ooh, this might be important, and then I respond. So I'm kind of a slave to my phone. And as I get more and more busy and as the busy season hits, I need to build some new structures and processes around that. I'm not committed. I'm not even sure what I'm committed to in terms of, hey, I'll get back to you within 20 minutes. I'm kind of just always swimming.
Yep.
So that's something you guys help a lot of people.
You know, look, man, I change my rules all the time. You know what I mean? I because business is it's always changing, and so what worked for me a year ago doesn't work for me as well today. And so I think, I don't know, man, I try to ask myself, am I keeping up with my customer? Right. And if I'm not, then I have to sort of step back, evaluate the situation, and come up with new habits. So one of the things that I have tried to be I've been pretty consistent on over the past probably 5 years. There's a book called Getting Things Done. Have you ever heard of that?
I have it in my car. I didn't read it. Was it David Allen?
Yeah, don't read it. No, I'm joking. It's a fantastic book. It's a really, really good book. But one of the...
I'm probably not going to read it. I mean, I got it. You know, you buy a book, you're like, oh, I should read that. And you're like, this is not engaging.
Well, there's something...
I'm fine today.
I
don't need that. I'm plenty productive.
Yeah. There's something...
Give us the nugget. Give us the nugget.
By the way, I have that. No, the book that you're talking about, the book that I bought. Like, there's a better.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's a better Chad who would read this book.
Yeah, you'd get better if you read it.
And it was better Chad who bought it, but right now Chad is
So you read Getting Things Done.
I did.
Compelling title. Compelling title. What? Okay, when you listen to it. What'd you get? Give us the nugget.
I got actually a whole bunch of good stuff out of it, and things that I use, and things that I actually find myself kind of imparting to others, just as a way of when I see people overwhelmed, and I'll sort of say, hey, you might want to consider this. Here's
not you should do this. This is something you might want to consider. That's a big distinction, and he didn't even know he did that. That's some black belt stuff, because what everyone wants to do is, dude, you're doing it wrong. This is what you should do. No one responds well to that. I've learned. I've failed on that many times. Hey, this is something you might want to consider doing if you're.
Why does it work? As opposed to saying, why does that work, as opposed to telling people what they should do?
Well, because people don't argue with their own data. They can discover.
Right.
It comes back to a Sandler principle. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but you help people discover the right answer instead of telling them the right answer. Is the plain Jane version of it.
Yeah.
That's some deep psychology there, though.
So the mini detour is as you called it out, is to say, let's try to position people to make their own decisions.
Right.
Because if we can do that, they're bought in. That's the idea. So if you're an owner, if you're a leader, and if you're walking around your company and you're telling people what they should do, that's a risk. What you should be thinking instead is, or what you might want to consider instead, is walking around and kind of asking people questions and checking to see if they've thought of things in a certain way and allowing them to discover. But at any rate,
so what should people consider? Yeah, the big takeaway.
Big takeaway is keeping your inbox at 0 every day, which is not easy. And for some people, they think it sounds insane. But it's actually, it's kind of two principles. One is limiting the number of inboxes that you have. Right. And second is processing that inbox down to 0. So in this
hypothetical inbox, we're not strictly email.
Correct. Right. In this language, we're talking about whatever. You're talking about email, post-it notes,
text messages, anything
that hits you. So what when David Allen wrote the book, I think it was in the late 90s or something along those lines, email was a baby. Text messages didn't even exist. Voice memos were cutting edge.
Facebook messages.
Not even close. Yeah.
People don't stop hitting me, and I love it. Keep sending me messages on Facebook. I prefer that.
Facebook was a twinkle in Zuckerberg's eye at this point, right? And so when he wrote the book, it was relevant, and it's so incredibly relevant now. And it's basically this. If you've got so many different places that you're putting things and that people are putting things for you to do, chances are pretty good that you're not keeping up. And your brain's not stupid. If you're not keeping up with all those things, your brain won't let you forget about them. And if your brain won't let you forget about them, then you start to feel overwhelmed, and you're walking around all the time with this constant nagging sense that you've got a million things to do, right? But that you can't quantify them, and you don't know where to start. Right. And so you just barely sleep, and you're super unproductive all day. That sucks. So, right. Yeah. So the concept is...
Yeah, it does suck. I know. I was like, are you describing me right now?
Well, I'm describing...
I'm thinking all this stuff I have to do right now. I'm like, oh shit, we got to wrap this up. No, I'm just kidding.
But I am describing most people, I think. And yeah. I mean, on some level, I think that most busy people, fit into that category, and they really do struggle with it.
Don't you hate that, by the way? Oh, I'm so busy. You'll never catch me saying that.
I've eliminated it from my book. What do you say instead?
Oh, I'm so busy.
What do you say?
Oh, I got so much going on. It's just, I don't even know what I say. I don't say that.
So somebody says, are you busy? What do you say?
Well, if someone asked me if I was busy, I might acknowledge it and say, yeah, business is good. We're right. Staying busy. But I'm never using that as an excuse to not do something.
Right.
Or definitely not complaining about it. Oh my God, it's so busy. I'm so busy. And everyone says that too, and it's just one of my little pet peeves. I'm like, first of all, dude, you're not that busy.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
It pisses people off. You're not alone.
Yeah.
It drives people crazy. I think...
The tonality is what gets me, because it's constantly a bitchy tone. I'm so busy. Or not bitchy, but whiny.
So it's people being a victim, right? It's people being like, I'm so busy. And
like you're not, though.
Right. First off, you're not. Second off, if you were, wouldn't that be kind of good? And it's all about how you choose to react to your workload. And so, I actually, I'm a little bit OCD about it, to be honest. I'm a little bit maybe crazy. But I say, I won't even say the word busy. I say steady. That's actually a word that I've chosen instead. So somebody says, if somebody says how are things? I'll be like, steady. Just steady, man.
Yeah. Steady, kicking that ass.
Just
That's kind of what you're saying.
And
steady. It was great. You knew it was great. Now.
But what I want to communicate is that I'm not overwhelmed.
Right.
I'm fine. Do I have a lot going on? Sure, I have a lot going on. I think I do. I don't know. Not compared to this guy. Not compared to that guy.
Right.
And that's a part of what you have to keep in perspective.
Right.
Compared to a frontline Marine who's deployed in a hostile territory, I've got nothing going on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I've got nothing going on.
It's all about perspective.
It's all about perspective. So at any rate, so processing, getting your inbox narrowed.
Right.
Trying to bring that down to, are you taking notes over here? And are you taking notes over here? And when you have an idea, are you putting it on this? And can you centralize that? So what I actually do is I send myself emails. If I have an idea, I send an email to myself. When I'm talking to somebody, if you and I are having a conversation, you've had me do this with you before, for sure. We're driving down the road, you and I are having a conversation, you're like, yes, would you send me over that? I say, no problem, would you shoot me an email?
Yeah.
Just shoot me an email,
because
it'll act as a reminder.
Yeah.
That's right. Because now the second big takeaway that I kind of started with is process down your email to zero every day. Process your inboxes to zero every day. You got it. Now, it doesn't mean I do everything every day.
Right.
I don't actually execute every email every day, but I touch it, I make a decision about it, and I schedule it. So,
and you coach people on how you want to be assigned tasks.
So here's the deal. Bring that, you're 100% right, and bring that back to customer communication. How can you effectively communicate with your customer if you can't keep up? And to me, that's what this is about. It's about keeping up. It's about making sure that you don't fall behind. So what you've described is a situation where you're a slave to your phone. Thankfully, I'm in an industry. Where that's not so much of an issue. And when I say that, I just mean I'm not B2C. So you're dealing in the B2C
I'm dealing straight up with
community.
the consumer, not business to business,
Your
B2B,
customers are
B2C.
busy and they're at work, and if they're calling you and it's 1 p.m., you know that they stepped out to
Well,
make
here's
a phone
one of the
call.
promises I make to our clients, and I encourage other people to do it too. Now, maybe there's a better way, but this is how we've done it so far, is I want to communicate with my client in the modality that they want to be communicated in with. So if they want to text, we're texting. If they want a Facebook message, I've done a whole deal on LinkedIn Messenger.
Yep.
I don't really care because I want to make myself so easy to communicate with. I don't want to be hard to do business with. And that triggers some of this problem keeping up with my customers.
Right, because you're like, which buzz do
Yeah.
I need to respond to? Which
Let me ask you this.
Yep.
Because that might be unique. Like, I don't think everyone's starting up conversations on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on text, on calls, on emails all the time like we are. But when you're dealing with the company and they're saying, Chad, so I'm the CEO, our salespeople aren't following up with the leads.
Yep.
We're paying money for these leads. We're getting opportunities. They're not keeping up with that. And, oh, by the way, they're not keeping up with our past clients and our best referral partners.
Yep.
What does Newberger and Company and you guys do to kind of build structure around that for an organization?
So the answer to this might be sort of underwhelming, honestly, because the truth of the matter almost always is that people are making excuses that they are too busy.
Say it again. They're making excuses that they're too busy. That is just because it's kind of like the Nike, just do it, man. Just
Right. And so here's what, in a nurturing way, we try to do. I believe that, and we believe that a lead is gold. There are so many companies that don't get leads. There are so many salespeople that would choke you to get one of those. Yeah. And if you don't value or respect those, that's okay. You won't be getting them. And we're going to make sure that we find the people who treat these things with the respect that they deserve. And sincerely, I've met salespeople who don't need them. They really don't need the leads. They've been in business for 10 years at one place, and they've built a heck of a following, and they're going to sell plenty without the leads. We'll make conscious decisions to say, take all the leads away from that person. It's okay. Yeah. When you have the conversation with them, they're pissed off at first, but then they're kind of like, yeah, I didn't really do anything with them, right? So you have that problem that's going on. Then you have complacent people. You have people who think, they're busy, but who are most people just aren't honest with themselves. If they're at work for 10 hours and they're not honest that they really worked about 3.5.
I'm that guy. I never say I'm busy, like I said, but you know what? I pretend that I have a lot going on, but if I was more efficient, and if someone actually watched what I did all day, like I'm that guy. At least I know it though. Like I need to get focused on deep work, and I think this all comes back to a behavior type thing and putting yourself in a structure and a system that'll work. For me, in this business, I don't have to report to anyone. I can show up whenever I want. I can sleep in. I can go to lunch. So
you didn't sign up for this, but I'm about to give you some coaching.
Okay. Oh boy.
and so I'll just say this: as the leader,
just be ruthless. Just be ruthless. I need it. All right, I respond well to ruthless.
Look, as the leader of the team, you are setting the example, and if you. I hear that a lot of times from CEOs, from owners, and things like that, where they'll say, well, I'm not accountable to anybody, and that's bullshit. You are absolutely accountable to the culture of the organization, and the culture of the organization will only be as good as the values that you demonstrate every day, right? So if you need motivation, if you need accountability, open yourself up to visibility from the team. And really show the team. And so we've had some owners and some
leader,
CEOs
it starts at the top. It starts at the top. Now, caveat, there's 2 team leaders. And I'm sure we're getting close to the 15 minutes, but I want to end with this. Yeah. That's true. I should definitely be setting a better example when it comes to my habits around productivity. Keeping up with the customer, tying it back to that, I don't miss opportunities very often. I take that very seriously.
No, I know that.
Like when you refer me to somebody, or like your wife, who's the best, refers me all the time. I make sure that if I'm referred, that person's going to be, the referrer is going to be happy with 100%
of the time.
So I take that very seriously. But the caveat is we have 2 team leaders. So Joe Sacchetti, my wonderful partner, who everybody loves, he's in here at like 5 a.m. He's Mr. So we're yin and yang on almost everything. He wakes up early, I come in late.
And I want to be clear on this. I think I'm not lobbying to tell you that you need to be working more than 6 hours a day or 4 hours. I'm not. I don't. It has nothing to do with it.
I'd be so happy if I worked 4 hours a day.
That would be a wonderful thing.
Well, work.
Right.
I'm present at work.
Right.
Right.
All I'm suggesting is that you're imagine what would be possible for you, and imagine what would be possible for the team if, as the leader, if you were at 50% better utilization, something along those lines. So to me, again, all this keeping up with your customer really goes to self-leadership. It really goes to how good are you at keeping up with yourself.
Yeah.
How good are you at managing yourself? And I've been that guy too, man. I mean, 100% I've been that guy.
Everyone's been it, if you're honest.
But what I want to do, what I would tell you that I've learned to do over the course of time, through lots and lots of pain, and our team would tell you the same thing, is recognize when I have a problem and sort of get help. And that help comes in the form of conversations with guys like you, conversations with people on my team, reading a fantastic book, watching a great YouTube video, something along those lines that triggers something that for me, and this is the term I always use, that expands my bandwidth, that gives me a little bit more and helps me to
bandwidth expansion, critical.
Yeah, which to me just simply means being able to keep up more.
Right. Well, you want to be steady.
That's
Yeah, you don't get overwhelmed. You're just
100%.
steady.
That's right.
Hey, you just reminded me. I have a book sitting right over there. It's called Discipline Equals Freedom.
Never heard of it.
Jocko from the Jocko podcast.
Yeah.
Crazy Navy SEAL. Look up Jocko Willing. Look him up on YouTube. Scary dude. Navy SEAL. What does he call himself? A battalion.
People swear by that.
He's a
guy.
Commando.
Do you listen to his podcast?
I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I have, and
He says some dark. He's
what
killed a lot of
That's what
people.
freaked me.
I don't like that. I'm not like advocating that, but he has. And you're just like.
That's what freaks me out. Yeah, when I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, this is really good personal inspiration, and I hear some of that stuff, and look, I think it's real, and I think it's powerful, and I'm glad that those guys are on our side.
Dude,
but at the same time, I don't want to hear it.
Your point before though is like you don't have nothing going on compared to the Marine.
Yeah.
Oh, when you're dealing with like thousands of people and you're making the decision on, hey, snipers go here, we're gonna bomb the daylights out of that building, you better be on point.
Yeah.
You better not get overwhelmed, and
Yeah.
things are gonna be blowing up in your face. And you better not be overwhelmed. But to go back to the point is discipline equals freedom. If you can control yourself, you're free.
Yeah.
To have more bandwidth to do what you want.
Yeah.
Now
It's interesting. I did not expect keeping up with customer communication conversation to get into managing yourself so much, but it really is, I think, the cornerstone of it, man. I really do. And what I know, and I got to say this, I just, not just because you're having me here, but seriously, everybody that we've referred you to a lot of people. Everybody that we've ever referred you to goes out of their way to be like, dude, the guy is 100% responsive. So what I think is going on, really, Andrew, just for whatever it's worth, I think that you are a master at responding.
Yeah.
I think because you are constantly responding, you may struggle with
Keeping up.
Initiative. In other words, so that because your phone might ring at any time and you might get the buzz that you stop and you've trained yourself to be so there and immediately present for your customer, how can you shut off for 3 hours and work on a strategic initiative and turn off your customers?
Or focus on like
hard.
my wife and baby. That's the big one. I'm not going to get into
different conversation.
We're about to go into our biggest fails on the communication. But by
fails.
God, if I could just turn off my phone when I get home,
Yeah.
my family would be so happy.
Yeah.
And as we have more kids, God willing, that's going to be something I'm seriously. I know what you do.
Yep.
Is you don't even go in the house. You'll sit in your car
Yep.
until you're done. You told me that I don't know, like a year ago.
Yep.
He's got 2 young boys. You can't walk into your house like this on the phone, like ignoring your family. It's like gross. You can't do it with your customers either when you're face to face.
You've got to have boundaries.
Biggest fail, wrapping up. Customer communication. We like to tell blunders. We love telling the wins. Oh, look at all this great stuff I did, Chad. And then, we're not here to do that today. What's one of your biggest fails? And I can go first if you need to think of one. It sounds like you have one.
I got a winner.
What's something you failed miserably on, and it was a painful lesson?
So am getting better at this. Still not perfect. Sending a text or an email while I'm driving.
Get a Tesla.
And I should get a Tesla. I will. You know what? That's a great. Okay.
That's how you rationalize
solution.
Honey, I need this.
I need this Tesla.
You want me texting
you want me
and driving?
texting and driving because you know I can't be trusted.
Be honest. You text and drive. You gotta stop it. You gotta stop.
Stop. I will stop. I'm done. I'm not done yet. But it's right there. I'm really close.
Stop it.
I've made a lot of steps. But what I will do is I will read an email when I'm at a stoplight, and I'll respond to that email with voice when I'm at a stoplight. Sometimes I'll try to jam in a quick one. One day I got an email from a potential customer, a prospective customer, and it was a really nice email. But at the end of the email, he essentially said, "We want to work with you, but just not now. We'll get back in touch when the time is right." Which is it's a no.
Right.
And I was a little bit pissed when I read it.
Right.
Just because nobody likes to win or nobody likes to lose.
Yeah.
And
I said, Chad, we don't want to work with you, essentially is what you read.
That's right. And I was also trying to get this thing done before I had to actually focus on driving. And I sent the following email. No problem name, comma, if increasing your sales ever becomes a priority for your company, you know where to get us.
Real kind of
Just kind of
arrogant.
dickish.
Yeah,
like
real
it's
arrogant.
really rude.
Yeah. But why'd you type it in the first place?
So because I was grumpy,
Yeah.
and because I was just like quick email. I was like, okay, if getting better is ever a priority, you'll let us know, kind of thing. It was
Right.
just the wrong thing to say.
Because what they read is, this guy thinks I suck.
Totally.
And I'm not into.
And I'm not.
And I love sucking. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And so
What was the response to that?
it was like a book. It was like a 5-paragraph, 6-paragraph.
He
really
said,
well
Chad
thought out
Prinkey,
response.
young man.
Totally.
Mistake you just made.
Totally. And he said, this is
Because
not
Chad's
who I
talking to
thought
like
you were.
CEOs and like business owners. Not like he sent it to me because no one cares, right? But you were sending this to his prospect who's the owner of a company with employees that you were going to do business consulting.
Yeah.
Like country club etiquette of all country club etiquettes is needed in those interactions, especially in writing.
So
He wrote you a book back.
He wrote me a book back, and I just want to call out that your humility that you just said. Like, he's reaching out to CEOs of companies who are owners of companies with
Yeah,
people.
because
just
people might
like
say
you.
that like, oh yeah, you sent
just
some.
like you. You're an owner with you're an owner of a company.
Yeah, but like
with
we're
people.
friends. You can say literally anything to me, and I wouldn't be
true.
offended.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
That's a bad one.
What's yours?
Here's what I did. I got to be careful how I do this, because I don't want to disclose anything.
Right.
You ever get a BCC? You're on the BCC, like, hey, I'm going to include you in on this, but I don't want the actual people in the conversation to know that you're watching.
Yep.
So essentially what had happened was I was BCC'd on all these communication with member of our team, potential client, and BCC,
No,
future
it's okay.
future reference, never BCC.
Right.
I hate it. Like, I don't even, like who cares? Like,
Just do it in front of people.
Call
Just
me.
do it in front of people.
Call me.
CC.
Yeah,
If
CC.
you're-
Let everyone know who's here. Like,
Right.
BCC, just take it out.
It is kind of like.
I hate it.
It is kind of, yeah, I agree.
And it wasn't even, like, not to open up the whole ball of wax with BCC, and, well, essentially, I reply all.
Oh,
I meant to
sweet.
reply to my person,
Sweet.
and I said, this is bad. I said, like, can you believe this? Like, I think I might have said, like, a bad...
Yeah, you didn't say a nice thing about
like something
customer.
like a... Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I called him a name. Can you believe this, blank? Like, cut bait, jump, like, done. And it went out to that person.
Oh my God.
And I was able to spin it, and luckily,
We
I
call all of
I
ours.
wasn't dealing with the CEO. This happened to be someone I actually knew,
Oh my God.
and we made a big joke out of it. They loved it. They loved it. They
Oh
thought I
my
did it on
God.
purpose. I didn't.
Only you can turn that
So
into
we
a
danced.
positive.
We danced a little bit, but my stomach dropped into my hips, and I was just like, "Did I just call like this person
That's
who's
the
an
worst.
yeah."
You're a way worse communicator than I am.
Yeah. Well, you know, in all fairness, it all worked out because he was like, dude, you know what? You were right. I was being kind of a douche. And I was like, see?
See?
Sometimes honesty is the best policy.
See, if I'd have been just straight up CC'd, I'd have told you that myself.
Yeah, no, I definitely still would have tried to say something behind your back. But if I'm being honest, It's only because I wanted to help him out and he was getting in the way of himself.
Awesome. That
So
is awesome.
that's my biggest fail. So
We got to do this again.
here's what we're thinking. We're going to pick a topic. I'm going to pull some good unpaid consulting out of Chad, which I've been doing essentially my whole adult life, which is how to do certain things. So if you know of any sales topic you want to talk about, not just sales, but business, leadership, mindset, mechanics, what I know a lot of realtors get excited about, and salespeople in general, and even CEOs, what to say and when, how these interactions go. Because people like to say, oh, this happened, and they said this, and I said that. I love that. I mean, I personally like
it's
that.
fun.
Because you want to have those arrows in your quiver, like, oh, that's a good transition. This is how you ask a question when they ask you a tough question. All kinds of neat stuff. Chad's a master. Everyone at Newberger and Company is masterful at that sort of thing. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, man.
Hopefully that wasn't too much. I'm going to have you back, and we're going to cannon fodder a topic, maybe talk about one of our failures, and
Maybe this goes to 22 minutes. I don't know, something along those
we might
lines.
have blew it. This is the first one. This might end up being something else. This might not be a Sure Group show next time. This might be Real Talk with Chad Prinkey. Who knows what it's going to be, but I really appreciate you.
Nobody will ever be able to pronounce that.
Thanks, man.
See ya, thank you.
Hey, Chad, since this is a Sure Group show, I'm going to need you to look at the camera and just hit him with an oh, by the way, whatever you want.
All right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to take this moment to give a high five to the 3 people on our team that I think exhibit the absolute best communication with their customers. And that's Cal, Bogertman, Sarah Solberg, and Doug Latierzo. You guys set the standard, and I'm trying to keep up with you.